Thank you for being here. Among that list, that enumerated list, one thing I should mention is that one of the early starts to my writing career was here in Austin with the Austin Poetry Slam, which ended up being my area of scholarly interest as well. Thank you, Malvern Books, for hosting today. Thank you to John for those lovely poems. And thank you to Scott for the invitation. Scott was my student. He was an undergraduate student here, and as a senior, he took a workshop with me. I was really honored to be able to have the opportunity to teach the class, and it was just so exciting to see him grow and develop and move on to graduate school and go to NYU and get his MFA there, and then to read this manuscript, to read this book. It was such a pleasure to be able to see some of the poems that he had worked on in that workshop manifest in this book. So I know that when he started teaching at NYU, he's just so excited to say, "Oh, I just love teaching," and bringing these poems to their minds and seeing the light bulb go on. And I said to him then, it's one of the greatest pleasures as a teacher to see your students' accomplishments eclipse your own. So I know that will be true with you. I'm going to read from my first book of poetry called Rome. One of the themes in Scott's book is a really strong sense of place. And so I wanted to open with a couple of poems that share that sense of place, that are about my hometown of New Orleans. The first poem I'll read is called Amanita virosa, which is a poisonous mushroom. It's also a metaphor for cancer. They're known as destroying angels. My father died of cancer when I was 19 years old, so there's a little bit of that sense of home here too. Amanita virosa. Did you travel by the small river that was our street? Did you hide in the garden waiting for hard rain? Are you the knuckles of some immigrant hand, or are you the fruit of neglect? Did you fall from the sky? 4 days after the hurricane, you rise from the hot, rotten floorboards of our good neighbor's house. Your tenuous veils lift from under the caps. Your waxy cups shine deadly in full sun. Part of me believes you were born on an island exotic. Part of me believes you first bloomed from my father's mouth. You spread your cool wings on the remnants of house, and when you grow heavy, you will drop. And when you grow heavy, you will release your terrible copies. Your white name will tumor in our yard in the moonlight. For years, I will dig out your angry buttons. For years, I will hold back the hungry dog. For years, I will pull your tender bodies up as you awfully push through the leaf brush. I live here knowing there is poison in the wood, knowing there was always poison in the wood. Overnight, you rise up all over the broken city. You resurrect in numbers and are most certainly destroying angels. I treasure your weird fruit for hours, singing your brief, moist hearts. This is a poem called Notes for Living in NOLA, New Orleans, Louisiana. I wrote this actually before Hurricane Katrina, but it's taken on special significance for me since then. It makes reference to two Mardi Gras parades, Zulu and Rex, which follow each other on Mardi Gras morning. Rex is a traditionally white parade, Zulu is a traditionally African-American parade. Yeah, and there's also a riddle in here. Let's see if you get it. Notes for Living in NOLA. Learn to hate the tourist who booze up, who cruise the one ways the wrong way and ask for the Café du Monde, the Jack's, the Cat's Meow, the Preservation Hall. On Bourbon Street they fall for I bet you $1 I can tell where you got those shoes. Sleep till noon, your belly deep and soft. Deal cards and convince others you once shot the moon. Stay above water. Throw parties when there is weather. Vacation during Mardi Gras, or do Mardi Gras every other day. Practice the aesthetics of getting out of bed, chasing the cat, the beauty in wavy views of traffic. Note the poetics of a shirt stuck to your back. Baby, you in jazzland, but don't show the blue notes, the thin ropes of hate and self-hate that hold the place together, that cable the soft banks, that sing red cypress, black wire. Here, murder walks slowly, demands you hand over your wallet and things. Don't make no fuss, and perhaps he might pass or ask you out for a beer. Cultivate a dull eye like the black boys on Bourbon who slide and clack for change, who tap parabolas, who tack bottle caps on their Nikes to jump back to where someone said they from. Acclimate to the smell of exhaust in the canal. Pick up the perpetual gifts of beads and cups that wash onto your lawn year long. Eat the food you are most afraid of. Don't drink the water. Learn to hate the tourists who rip Mammy's face off the sweet, sweet pralines that mark their journey south, who buy posters of the jazz man whose pearly teeth match the whites of his Mac the Knife eyes, but never go into the park named after this man. It is dangerous. Perhaps you will die by that knife. Find people to love who tell you suspicious histories. Wash dishes and know there is no end to roaches. Celebrate obscure holidays and master riding a bicycle with a buzz. And this, daily rain at 4, torn green fans of saw palmetto wrapping at the screen, steam moving from your shoes, the slip of a cool bottle in hand. You grip it just before losing it. Wake up early for Zulu, leave before Rex. Regret has moved to some other country, so dress, make bets, burn, do nothing. Get on a bus named cemeteries. These cemeteries are beautiful things. I'm going to move between manuscripts and books, which is so crazy to say. I'm going to read a few poems from a book I've been working on for a long time. It's titled Looking at Photographs in Which Our Faces Do Not Appear. And it's tough material. I'm writing about images of lynching and torture in sort of formal pairs. One of the photographs that I write about frequently in the manuscript is that of Emmett Till, who at 14 was tortured and killed in 1955 after whistling, so-called, at a white woman. So this is about Emmett Till, his image, along with some of my story too. Memento Mori. Emmett, when I look at you, I experience dis-ease, not just at the wasted eye or swollen skull, though that too floats in me, elephantesque, but in knowing the body made trash, your body thrown into a barbed pose halfway between let's not get gotten and I don't give a shit that the river amplifies. Your mother recognizes you by your earlobes and your father's gold signet ring. My disease makes its way through spring, folds over to wrap around my vocal cord like a gift bow. Morphine opens its slow drip like a glassy throat or a river eddying underneath an oar on a boat named Removal. and floating in it, I remember you. 2 men came in the night, roused you and told you to dress, but you insisted on socks before shoes and refused to say sir. And so, the wire cut this way through your neck, pulled by the 8 miles of Tallahatchie undertow and a cotton gin fan heavier than my white daughter. In the surgeon's report, a cartoon of my thyroid spreads a pair of knuckled wings, and the pathologist has ringed it with ethos, halos for the tumors we might otherwise miss. It arrives in the mail marked with the red stain confidential across the flap, which I imagine is the scar reticulating across my throat, a swan issuing her heavy wings to cut the boat's wake. When your funeral portrait is published in Jet, people line up at newsstands to pay their 20 cents because your mother says, I want the whole world to see what they did to my boy. And I do. I peel back the black cover of it like a heavy skin to look. I open the body to its contents like an envelope. I break its neat seal. On signs. Lord, cradle this snowbank in me. It does not care what I think of it, and I do not care what it thinks of me. We share this kind of pour de bras. For now is the winter of my deep regret, and objects seem closer than they appear. 7 states away from home, I lie awake in a residential hotel with a mauve kitchenette and write about the faces of torture. And though I surely should have seen it coming, my sleepless nights, his frequent departures to Seattle, my husband says the word divorce over the phone. Lord, I know you are not responsible for damage or theft. Please, pick up after your dog. No matter what the fluttering blue plastic bag under that language means. I move over bacon because I have a flight home to board and I want to enter the airport of my failure with grace. 2 bags checked and a whiskey before takeoff. A swift ascent and no smoking or planes falling out of the sky. Let the cartoon buttons ding in agreement and the overhead masts help themselves before others. Someone will offer admonitions about the exits cheerfully, indistinctly. Lord, if you see something, say something. I've got 2 more poems for you. This next one is from my second book, which is Quiver, which is about science and mathematics and theoretical physics and love. And I want to read the last poem in the book, which is a love poem. The Anthropology of Gold. Because the whole world is made of it. Because it is the world's first word, written on a gilded scroll unfurling out of the lion's jaw. Its brief phrase is in us just as it is in this yellow animal playing the soft, rare bones of prey in his mouth, Gloria Mundi, desire like a muscled cloud spilling out of the elk's staunch breast. This morning, I reach stone deep in the garden and I think of the believing alchemist burying his rank vessel into the fire, for years blindly expecting his wealth to appear, something from nothing. His ear foolishly pressed to the crucible, listening for the thin drawl of gold to rise from the bowl. And I too wish for it, this preciousness. And I too think to see it in the river's flash of afternoon riches, or in the marksman's bright arrow purring in its slot, or in the brief slanting light pouring through the skin of orange lilies like a breath. Today, for example, I find a bee alive and innocently dancing in the dog's mouth. To speak the rare code of this world, I will toil endlessly over its gifts, knowing it would yield such incongruous treasure, so that I could bite down hard, so that I could hold all my love for the world between my simple teeth. The last poem I'll read is a fun one. I thought I would read a New Year's poem. This is called Poem About the Party at the End of My 20th Century, or subtitle, it could also be What I Learned in Graduate School. Anyway, it's a whole imagined cast of characters. I hope you enjoy it. Poem about the party at the end of my 20th century. It ain't no secret that the moon makes me suffer. How else would I count my birthdays or know when my houseboat is most likely to drown? About the masters, I was wrong. So at the end of the century, I accept the invitation, dress in tulle, and get hammered on terrible wine. Tom Waits is slow dancing with Emily Dickinson while singing, "Like it or not, we are all brides of the 21st century." Oh love, you have broken me, and all I really wanted to do tonight was to meet James Dean. Most things we are doomed to absent. John F. Kennedy doffs his hat at the ladies without knowing about the void in his skull. We started with Nickelodeons and wound up with Netflix, but don't tell Zapruder or the Grassy Knoll. Half the men here are stiffs. More than half of the party doesn't know the electric slide, and Thomas Edison finds himself lost in a dark coat closet of furs, which he calls the Black Mariah. Edna St. Vincent Millay's entourage is stalking her like a terror of foxes. And please, somebody please take a selfie with Hitler so we can send him on his way. And who invited the revisions of Lynn Hygenian? Everywhere is the elegy of music. And in the dark corner of the 21st century, Dean Young does the electric boogaloo in a tuxedo made of toy pianos. William Dean Howells sprawls in a leather armchair, smoking his manuscript while praising the black dancing of Paul Laurence Dunbar from afar. This is the century I was born again. This is the century I touched the holy hand of Lucille Clifton, and I slammed and I slam danced. 1 minute until lights out. We count down with our flashlights dimmed with no batteries to detect. I decide it is not enough to shine. One must also reflect. So darling, dance with me like a chandelier. Dance with me like a tenement turned townhouse. Dance with me like Bela Lugosi's dead.